This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy. Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. This is lesson 15 in this Saturday series where we're working on jamming, meaning we're working on improvising solos and playing lead lines in the pop, rock, and blues styles, which is so fun. And this is sort of an accumulative lesson because we're bringing everything that we've been working on recently together. So we've worked on 5 different forms of the minor pentatonic scale and the blues scale that goes with it. We've worked on improvising in different keys, learning each one of those scale forms one at a time. And so here in this lesson, we've got them all together. And of course, I've got a new backing track, a new jam for us to apply it to as we're improvising. So lots of great things. Let's just go ahead and take a look at these 5 forms and how they sort of correlate next to each other on the fretboard. So we're going to be in the key of F sharp minor with our backing tracks. We're going to be jamming in F sharp minor. This is actually sort of a minor blues progression, only it lasts half as long. So instead of having 4 measures of F sharp minor, 2 measures of B minor, 2 measures of F sharp minor, and then 1 of D down to that C sharp 7, F sharp minor having 1 and C sharp 7. That would create an actual minor 12-bar blues. But in this case, it's half as long, sort of goes with the groove that we're doing, and everything's cut in half. So we have 2 measures there of F sharp minor, 1 of B minor. We're back to that F sharp minor, and then just a half a measure of D7, a half a measure of C sharp 7. I'm using D9 and C sharp 9 there. F sharp minor 7 is what I'm using, and C sharp 7. So pretty cool, and of course we'll have the drums going and the full on bass, everything. We've got that full backing track, and there is a link in the description below. You can click on that. You can open up that backing track and play along with it as much as you'd like to as its own video. Here we're going to interactively jam together so you can get some ideas from me. So since we're going to be working in F sharp minor, I'm going to go through this as if we're in that key. And I picked that key because it sort of lets us see everything along the fretboard nice and easy, sort of associating the way we learned things previously. So we're going to start off in F sharp minor, and we'll be at the 2nd fret. So far with all 5 forms, what we learned is we learned form 1, and we worked a lot with form 1. So in this key, that would mean that my root note with that square around it is going to be at that 2nd fret of that 6th string. And we can do the minor pentatonic scales, and then of course the starred notes show us where that extra pitch is added to turn it into the blues scale, that sharp 4 or flat 5. So right there, I've got scale form 1. Or I could make it into the blues scale. That should be familiar to you. If you haven't been checking out the previous lessons where I've gone over these things sort of one at a time, we've kind of layered on, check out those previous lessons. I'm not going to take time to really walk through these too much here in this lesson, but we've got that one there. Then what we learned was scale form 2. So that's scale form 1. Scale form 2, where we took everything and moved it to a higher string. We've moved everything on up a string, and that's scale form 2 over here. In this key, we would stick this at fret 9 for the F sharp, and so in that key I can play that minor pentatonic, or we can play the blues scale. Either one, and we've got that there. It can be really helpful as we move everything higher to see how things continue on the top string and the bottom string. The bottom string matches the top string, and then we just continue from there. So you'll notice what we're playing here on this one moves to the top string. So we got it on the top string. It's also now on the bottom string, and then as we continue, it happens to be just the same as what we were doing here. So that form just continues, just sort of rotates around the strings. So we learned scale form 2, we jammed with that one. Then we learned scale form 3, which has that root there on that 4th string now instead of the 5th string, instead of the 6th string. And for this key, we'd have that at fret 4, and we've got form 3 there. Or we can play the blues scale. on moving it up another string, and we got form 4 over here. So now the F sharp for this key is at the 11th fret, and we can move those scale forms up again, and we've got that nice pentatonic up there. Or we can play the blues scale. Just like that. And then in the last lesson we learned form 5 here, where we move it one string higher. And of course we got fret 7 there, where we got that F sharp. Fret 7. We got fret 7, and we can play it again. So and we have it there. Or we could do the blues scale. Just like that. So we got all 5. Now, when we're working on jamming and just sort of getting this down, it helps to actually just jam over a backing track or play along with a favorite song that we like or something, just working each one individually. That's something that I've pointed out in the previous lessons, but that's really probably the way that I started getting these down the best, is I would just jam over it a long time. So since we're in F sharp minor here, I could just take and practice this one in F sharp minor and then jam over the backing track until I kind of have some ideas flowing and get comfortable. Then I move to scale form 2, and in that area jam over that one. Then scale form 3, play through that, jam with that one. Scale form 4, play that one, jam with that one. Scale form 5, play that one, and then jam with that one. And for me, adding in the blues note really threw me off at first. So it helped me just to live with the minor pentatonic for a while and then just start seeing where I could add that extra note in if I wanted to. So that's just a note there. Now, I have some other little pointers that I'm going to give you. The way this is written here is how they actually sit next to each other along the fretboard. So we've got scale form 1, you'll notice it goes 1, 3, 5, so we skip over, and then we go to 2, 4, and then actually here, this one there, comes back to number 1. So that's how it just continues over and over. So if we had more room off the board there, we could have form 1 right there in that same fret, which is going to be at the 14th fret for this key, and we could start over with this form at the 14th fret. And have F sharp minor there, and of course we could then just continue as high as you want to play. This guitar gives me a lot of fret room up high, a lot of reach, so it's kind of nice, but a lot of guitars that I play don't give that much room, and maybe the one you're playing might give you a lot of room or it might not. But we've got them next to each other, and it can continue until we're out of space along the fretboard. So you can just remember 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4 is how they sit next to each other, but that's not necessarily the easiest way to see it. So here's something that I think can be really helpful, and that's just to look at the 1 octave form of the scale. So this is the single octave forms here. This is the low 1, the lowest octave there with that minor pentatonic scale, and then up here on this diagram, I've just shown the higher octave there from the scale form 1. Those are the ones we're familiar with. But if we just take scale, this bottom part of the scale form, the single octave, I just did the blues, or you could just do the minor pentatonic, and I'm just going to demonstrate it here with the minor pentatonic because that'll just make it nice and easy to grasp. So we can take just that bottom part, and of course we can play it. I'll go through different keys here, but we can move it up to the different strings. And then of course we have just a little partial up there, and just on top you could have 2 strings. So we've got that 1 octave thing. Now we can connect this together right at the octave of the root, which is really helpful. So if we start there in F sharp minor and I play that single octave, then I replace where my ring finger is with my new index finger, and I can play that scale form again, just that single octave, replace my pinky or my ring finger, depending on how I played it, with my index, and I've got just that piece there. So, and then here we go, and then sing that that like that is really helpful. And a lot of times as we're jamming and improvising, we actually want to move higher, get those higher notes happening, sticking with a particular form. So that helps us just kind of go there. And then what you're going to see is that's exactly what happens with these forms, how they sit next to each other. So as I do it, I can continue, and then I've got the whole form to fill out there. And we used this a little bit when we worked on the extension with Form 1, how we could play those notes, and we even saw how, we can slide back and forth on that next string. So you can start seeing other ways to do it, especially when you bring in this one as well. So we've got 1, 3, 5, and then we start over. So we get up to that high 7th fret. We got to come down with our ring finger and grab it right for this one here. So if you can see how those octaves work, then it's my index finger, or I just remember the bottom 2 strings where my notes start on the bottom 2 strings, and I can find this one. But continuing there, it's the same sort of thing. I've got just the single octave form, and then I replace my ring finger with my index, and I got my single octave form. So it can really help just to see the single octave form and how you can connect each of these using that. That was really beneficial to me because we see this, we can find these that way. Starting to connect them that way is really helpful. You can also do that with the alternate fingering, the alternate form here, where we start with our ring finger or our pinky, and we've got that pentatonic. You can do the same sort of thing with that one and see how they connect next to one another just by playing through that. Now, with both of these, if you take these fingerings and play them on one string, this is another way that you can connect these forms together. Might be a little trickier, but if you can start to see how to play these with these fingerings on one string, it can be a way to connect these scales together. So if I put my index finger at the 2nd fret of the 6th string, and I was going to play this whole thing on one string using these fingerings, I go 1, 4, and then I skip over a fret and go 1, 3, and then I skip over 2 frets and I go 1, 3, and I've played that pentatonic scale right there on one string. Alternatively, I could do the same thing with this one if I start just one note with my ring finger, and then I got to skip over 2 frets and I go 1, 3, and then I skip over 1 fret, and I've got my 1, 4, and then I'm up to just my index finger is how it would really be, just skipping over 1 fret again. So if you can see how to finger those, you can actually find your way on one string through these. I'll just demonstrate this with this one here. If I go 1, 4, skip over that fret and go 1, 3, I can continue up. And once I've done that, I'm right here in this form. And then I can just continue from there how I would do so from this spot right there. And I'm right in that form. So when you're playing these on one string, it can be helpful, and it doesn't matter the string. It follows the same pattern. So if I'm in this one here and I go 1, 4, skip over a fret and go 1, 3, 1, 3, I'm right there in this pattern. And so starting to see through one scale, one octave of the scale on one string can help you connect them. Once you kind of got that going, you can actually just play with connecting these on other strings. And that's going to be found a lot of times through these. So it's really sort of a helpful way to do it. So there's some ideas on kind of getting going. When we really get the fretboard down, it opens us up for a lot of playing and just a lot, having this wide range. We can play low, we can play high, which is super, super fun. We're going to jam a little bit in F sharp minor together, so you can pick up some ideas from me, and I'll just kind of play around. Initially, I already have worked these kind of things out, but if this is overwhelming to you, just start with one of the forms and then look at going back and forth between more than one form if you want to. But if you need to, just learn all the forms first and then go back. Say, okay, I'm just going to go back and forth between these. I'm going to force myself to do that. Then I'm going to go back and forth between these, back and forth between those, and so on. And you'll start to just get some ideas flowing of how you can go back and forth. But it really helps to just master one form all by itself first and then start trying to connect them. Otherwise, it's just an overwhelming amount of information. But I'm going to go ahead and play a solo. You can jam along with me, steal any of the ideas you want over the backing track that I created for this lesson. I'll just play some different ideas in the different positions, and I'll try and use at least part of each position a little bit. You're going to find that I'm going to be taking this and sticking a lot of times with that, moving from one to the next, kind of going higher there, and then sometimes from these as well, just like we worked on the extension early on in those first lessons that happened in this course. But we're going to go ahead and jam along with this backing track. It'll give us some hits on the hi-hat, 3 of them, break on the 4th beat, and then we'll be in with the backing track. And as I mentioned, this backing track is available for you to play with as much as you'd like to. There's a link in the description below, so you can jam along with it and any of the backing tracks that have been created for this lesson series. You could take all of these and go back through the other backing tracks and work other keys. Once you start getting comfortable in this key, check out those other keys. The other backing tracks that we worked on in previous lessons will help you as you start to figure out how to play along the neck. If you don't know the notes on the 5th and 6th string, it's almost a must that you got to know where those notes are on the 5th and 6th string to be able to find these. If you can find this one, you can find this one, you can easily find the rest. But let's go ahead and jam together. Hopefully you'll get some ideas and have some fun. Let's do it. Okay, awesome. At least I hope it's super fun for you. If it's overwhelming, then take each one of these one at a time. If you haven't checked out the previous lessons that are part of this series, then check out those lessons, starting with lesson 1. Some of those lessons have licks and lots of different help to get you going with playing in this sort of thing. So just keep at it. Over time, as it gets easier, it just becomes more and more fun. And of course, there's lots of backing tracks that you can play along with in lots of different keys. So if you get this key down with these 5, then of course go back to those other backing tracks that we've done for the minor pentatonic and the blues scales and start working those with all 5 forms. So lots of great things to do there. In the next lesson, we're going to be going back to the major pentatonics. We're going to work with the major pentatonic. We've learned that for every minor pentatonic, there's a major pentatonic with the same notes. So we're going to be doing those relative keys, so to speak, using notes from these same 5 forms, only applying them to the major keys. So we're going to work that with each of the 5 forms. It's going to be awesome. Of course, that'll come out next Saturday. We've got Monday lessons where we've got jazz lessons coming out right now. We've got Thursdays where we've got those theory lessons coming out. And then on Saturdays, we've got these lessons. Those are the new lessons coming out each week. But of course, there's over 1,000 videos on the channel. So lots of previous lessons that have been released where you can get help with various aspects of playing the guitar. And there's the method books. So lots of great ways to get help. Keep having fun. Take care. And we'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.